June 14th will be a crucial day for Turkey. It will find out where some of its most important allies stand. The upcoming NATO summit in Brussels will also be the first time Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan meets face-to-face with Joe Biden since he became president. The long silence between the leaders left many wondering where Washington's policy towards Ankara was heading. But one change initiated by Biden stood out clearly. His statement calling the events of 1915 a genocide upended decades of U.S. policy. Biden was also part of the Obama administration that initiated many of the sticking points that exist today between the NATO allies. They include U.S. military support for the YPG terror group in Syria, which began when Biden was vice president, and the U.S.'s refusal to sell Turkey Patriot missiles, which led to it purchasing Russia's S-400 system. That also happened under Biden's watch. Despite those stark differences, President Erdogan has reiterated that strong ties between both countries are crucial for NATO's security. So, how will this summit turn out? Can a face-to-face meeting bury past differences and forge a new path? And to answer that, joining me from Ankara is Hakan Akbas. He is the Turkey advisor to the Albright Stonebridge Group. And from Washington, D.C., Luke Coffey. He is the director of the Allison Center for Foreign Policy Studies at the Heritage Foundation. Gentlemen, welcome to Straight Talk. It's good to have you on the program. Hakan, will the two presidents be able to open a new chapter when they meet on the sidelines of the NATO summit? Do you believe that the current environment is suitable?
Well, Ayşe, thanks for having me back on the program. The 14th of June meeting is very much needed to continue the dialogue between parties. But there are deep structural issues between the parties that will not be solved during the course of a short meeting. Obviously, Turkish side would like very much U.S. to end its partnership with YPG along its border, and also the extradition of the FETÖ leader, as well as the fate of the long-awaited Halkbank case. So this is what's going to be on the agenda of President Erdogan. And from Biden's side, this is going to be his first time actually seeing President Erdogan since the second term of President Obama. And on their list, obviously, there's going to be a series of bilateral issues ranging from Syria, Iraq, Libya, Ukraine, and Afghanistan.
Yes.
But most important piece will be the S-400s.
So, Luke, do you believe that the two presidents will have time to overcome their differences? And how could prolonged tensions between the two countries impact the NATO alliance as well as the two countries' joint interests in various regions?
Sadly, I don't think that we'll have the time in this one meeting to overcome all these big issues. And actually, I don't think that this will be the goal going in. I think we need to manage and set expectations at the appropriate level. This meeting should be seen as a confidence-building meeting. As it was already pointed out, the two leaders haven't met in person in a number of years, although Biden and Erdogan have met many times in the past. President Biden has been in foreign policy long enough to understand the importance of Turkey to the United States and to NATO. So I think it's important that we view this meeting as a first step to get this important bilateral relationship back on track. And I would suggest that they compartmentalize some of these more contentious issues, such as S-400 or YPG or Gulen, and instead focus on areas where we know there's commonality between the U.S. and Turkey, such as Afghanistan, such as Ukraine, such as U.S. LNG exports to Turkey, which seems to be going under the radar, but are increasing drastically from last year. So I think there is a potential to have a good meeting here, and I think both leaders want a good meeting.
But on the other hand, Hakan, are we likely to see some sort of an understanding when it comes to Turkey's use of Russia's S-400 defense systems? And what do you think both countries have to offer to one another, because the US openly says Turkey cannot retain those missile systems. On the other hand, Turkey says it's an existential problem for Turkey because of the Patriots. What's your take on that?
S-400 decision goes back to the coup attempt in Turkey, from which the relations literally broke down, and the confidence, the mutual trust and patience is really running low. And I just got back from Washington D.C. and to my observation, I've never seen Turkey as toxic as ever before. So from that perspective, it would not be possible to come to an understanding on the S-400s, because Pentagon obviously would like them to be out of Turkey, and that would create a major problem between Turkey and Russia. So it's going to be one of those where parties will just keep it on the side. And unfortunately, by taking this meeting, actually, Ankara may be taking a little bit more risk here, because after the summit, we may see, for example, additional potentially sanctions related to S-400s from the Senate, as well as the Halkbank case coming back on the agenda.
So, Luke, could you give us some, the mood in Washington, D.C.? What do lawmakers think about the upcoming Erdogan-Biden meeting at the NATO summit? And do you believe that the Turkey-U.S. relations are at their worst level?
Well, they're certainly at a very low level. There's no doubt about that. And in Washington, D.C., it is true that there is, bipartisan support to put more pressure on Turkey. And this is very unfortunate. I think that there's a number of factors feeding this line of thinking. You have many lawmakers in Washington really concerned about the S-400 issue. They just cannot get their heads around why a NATO member would buy the S-400. They don't see it from Turkey's point of view. But there is also a small group who understand the importance of Turkey in NATO, in the North Atlantic, transatlantic community in terms of security and economic issues. And they're not quite ready to throw away, 7 decades of a good relationship for 7 or so challenging years. Mm-hmm. But they're very much in the minority, I would say. But nobody disputes the idea of President Biden meeting with President Erdogan. I think deep down, most lawmakers and policymakers want to get the relationship back on track. Just nobody can come to an agreement on the best way to do that.
So, Hakan, Turkey says this S-400 defense systems will not be integrated into NATO's. And even the NATO Secretary General has recently said that Turkey is free to buy whatever it wants, but the U.S. doesn't see it that way. So under which circumstances, for example, you think Turkey could return to the F-35 fighter jet program? Could this be an alternative?
I think the only acceptable solution to the S-400 problem from the U.S. perspective would be to Turkey to give them up and send them to a third country. Even the U.S. maybe buys them out or send it to the Turkish, authorities in Qatar, what have you. But without that, it would be difficult for the U.S. to accept the position. Having said that, buying S-400s was a sovereign decision for Turkey, and they would like to be able to diversify out of just U.S. procured sort of military equipment. And F-35 program, as far as I can see it, first S-400 issue would have to be solved, which will take time. Right now, I do not see parties budging on that.
Yes.
And even if that were to be the case, I think accepting Turkey back to the F-3500 would probably not materialize because the train has already left the station.
Okay. So, Luke, on the other hand, there is this terror problem of Turkey. How could continued U.S. support for the YPG terror organization in northern Syria affect power balances in the region? And what does it mean for both Turkey and the Russian?
Well, it's really unclear what the U.S. strategy going forward in Syria is going to be. The administration has not laid out any sort of roadmap on U.S. engagement in Syria. Let's not forget that it was President Biden, or then Vice President Biden's one of his decisions to push President Obama to arm the YPG, and it was Vice President Biden who made these promises to Turkey that America couldn't keep, such as, the YPG will remain east of the Euphrates River, or after the fighting ends, then the U.S. will collect all the weapons. These were impossible promises to make, and they should have never been made. So unfortunately, on this issue, President Biden's instinct is probably to continue supporting the YPG. And I think until policymakers in Washington wake up and understand the second and third order effects of this policy in terms of stability and security in the broader region, we're going to continue down this path. Now, thankfully, I feel like we're continuing down this path at a slower pace now, because there's a lot less focus and a lot less attention on what the U.S. is doing in Syria. This isn't a topic that's discussed really at all in Washington right now.
So, Hakan, the Turkish president will also be meeting with Greek Prime Minister at the NATO summit. How has the latest exploratory talks between the two countries played out so far? And what kind of a map you think the two countries would follow, let's say, without resolving the Cyprus as well as the Aegean disputes?
Well, this, without a doubt, having the two presidents meet the sidelines of NATO is very much needed. And Foreign Minister Çavuşoğlu's last visit to Athens was very positive and productive. As such, they had agreed upon 25 sort of wins, if you will, from ranging cooperation in tourism to sort of accepting each other's COVID-19 certificates. Now, remember, though, last year around this time, the two countries almost came to the brink of military conflict. So there is a long list of disputes and issues on the table. But a heart of this problem is obviously the island of Cyprus that remains divided. And also, Turkey realizes that as long as this they do not normalize relations with Athens, they're not able to address the issue on the island, as well as they will have really a distant relationship with EU.
All right, gentlemen, unfortunately, we'll have to leave it here. Thank you very much for joining us on Straight Talk.